for families across the country and across Massachusetts, putting food on the table could soon get even harder. Since March of 2020, when pandemic-related closures and layoffs rocked the economy, more than 600,000 Massachusetts families have relied on emergency expansion of SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, which allowed them to receive maximum benefits through the program. That is until 4 days ago, when the expansion expired, leaving families in this state with around $150 less per month, at a time when inflation has sent food prices even higher and made historically affordable staples like eggs seem like a luxury. So what options do those families have now? Joining me now to discuss are State Senator Sal DiDomenico, Assistant Senate Majority Leader and co-chair of the Massachusetts Food System Caucus, and Catherine Lin, Vice President for Communications for the Greater Boston Food Bank. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator DiDomenico, let's start with you. Can you tell me about the change that happened during the pandemic, the boost in these benefits, and how significant that was?
Yeah, this was a lifeline from families, particularly in my district and across the state. The additional SNAP benefits really allow them to not have to make many tough choices between food, medical costs, rent, and making sure that they get fresh produce into the homes of many of these folks that have lived without that prior to that. The pandemic caused a wide range of issues, but only exacerbated the problems in the areas that we needed help the most. And that's why this was such an important piece of legislation that came through the federal government to expand SNAP benefits, because there was no other way to offset that cost. The gaps grew wider and wider for many families across our Commonwealth, and this was able to bridge that gap.
Catherine, as we said, it's a drop of about $150 a month for family on average. How much is that going to be felt?
It's going to be huge for families and individuals across the state and across the nation. And food banks are bracing themselves for that impact to take where they're going to take the brunt of trying to fill that gap that this benefit had filled for the last couple of years. And there's been historic enrollment in SNAP here in Massachusetts. We know that oftentimes a lot of those individuals are also seeing going to a pantry to supplement, all the needs. And we're really worried that our programs that are already experiencing a lot of high demand are going to see even more.
How significant is the rise in food prices for families right now, and the combination of this reduction with those prices being at historic highs?
Yeah, this is the perfect storm, right? So inflation being what it is today, and we've had cash assistance programs that we've been able to do in the state level for the last several sessions, and with inflation, that increase has also been taken away because of that, in real dollars going out to our families. So the fact that the food prices are increasing, losing SNAP benefits, and now, in addition to that, other federal programs that are also coming off Lifeline, and the pandemic era programs that they believe now should be taken away, because in their mind the pandemic is over, which is actually not. We're actually in worse shape than we are now in many of these situations. This is really a time where state government, which we're happy that in the sub-budget, we're probably going to get to in a minute, the sub-budget is actually putting some money in there. The governor and the Senate and the House have all agreed that it's time to put some money there to alleviate the effects of the cliff effect of this all coming to an end suddenly and easing off of the benefit. So my hope is also to increase other programs to help our families that need help the most as well. So this is a one-step approach now, but it's a more holistic approach where we have to talk about universal school meals, talk about cash assistance programs, and get more people on SNAP. Honestly, it's a federal program that will leave money on the table if we don't access that money.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about that supplemental budget, but first, as you said, I think it's important to clarify, people are not losing SNAP benefits. It's a reduction in the amount that many households are receiving. This expansion happened at a remarkable time in our history, and when people were dealing with all kinds of stresses from the pandemic. And as you said, of course, we're not done with COVID, right? But we're not in the same place that we were when the expansion happened. And could an argument be made, or should an argument be made, that the expansion is no longer as necessary as it once was?
I'd love to answer this question. I think that when we look at when that was implemented, yes, we were in crisis mode. That's for sure. But there should be some consideration in terms of what the economic climate looks like when we're making these types of decisions and removing benefits, because we're in a very different state. We are in March 2023 than we were in March 2020. So, cost of food, I mean, it's not just cost of food. That is definitely a driving force. But as Senator DiDomenico said, it is a perfect storm because the affordability of everything is up right now. And so I think when we think about taking away benefits, we have to really look at holistically, how are we really positioning people to thrive and really get on their feet and recover into an economy that we want to see for the future.
Right. Senator DiDomenico, about that supplemental budget, the governor's has proposed $130 million to go to SNAP benefits to help those families. But it's not indefinitely. It's only for 3 months, and it would cover 40% of the amount that's being lost, right? I know the House unanimously, I think, approved that supplemental budget. I think the Senate is expected to take that up this week, if I'm not mistaken. Do you expect that to pass, and what difference would that make?
I do expect it to pass. Then we're taking it up on Thursday. This has been a program that the Senate historically has been supportive of, and obviously the governor saw the need, the House members saw the need, and the Senate sees the need. So we're all in agreement that we have to do something here to alleviate the effects of what is happening here, to take away a benefit from somebody who is relying on that. That is a very difficult thing for families to counteract, right? So the dependency on these, because of the situation that they're in and the circumstances of what's happening now, I would argue that families are in worse shape than they were prior to the pandemic, because they had to go through the pandemic and now trying to recover and make up ground from where they left off has put them in a deeper hole than they were prior to the pandemic beginning. And now, so we're in a situation where we could either let this happen and let this expire, this increased amount in SNAP, or we can do something about it to alleviate the effect of it and try to minimize the impact over time. It's my hope, obviously, that we do other things, and as going forward as a legislature to counteract this and to bring more resources to the families that are represented, particularly families like Everett and Chelsea and gateway communities that are still trying to find their way after experience tremendous loss, not just financially, but also personally, with their own families, and putting themselves in a position where they had through no fault of their own, they had no way out. And SNAP was really is one of those programs that we could rely on, and the benefit now expiring, the additional benefit expiring, is really a hit to a lot of families, and we have to find a way to make that up.
Catherine, you touched on this before, but what do you expect the impact of this change in benefits to be on food banks, and what's your ability to meet any increased demand?
Well, a couple of things. One thing that I know, because we've seen it in history, when we have a crisis, it takes a long time for the demand from that crisis to go away. So when we were looking at right before the pandemic, we were just recovering from pre-recession, 2008 recession numbers. And so it took us almost 10 years to claw back to a place where we were at, 1 in 8, 1 in 9. We're now seeing 1 in 3 people are food insecure. So I think there has to be a reality, a recognition that it takes time, as Senator DiDomenico was saying. There's been a lot of loss, a lot of hurt financially and economically, and it will take a long time. So we know this, and we're seeing it reflected in the numbers that we're serving right now. So we saw a 60% increase to the amount of people served in the pandemic, and that's been constant. We've seen this chronic need, and so when you take away a significant takeaway of benefits that people have been relying on, and in some ways almost keeping them from relying on the food pantries even more, we know that they're going to turn to us. They're going to need more help. So we are worried. I think that that's why there needs to be this holistic conversation. We need to talk about affordability here in Massachusetts and what it really means to support people holistically. And I'm really, really pleased that the governor filed this supplemental budget and the legislature is taking it up. And my hope is that we'll just continue to have conversations about how we can support people in the short and the long term.
Yeah, that supplemental budget does not include any increased funding for food banks like yours to help people who maybe need to rely on food banks more. Is it your hope that the state legislature might step up and provides additional support for your programs?
Yeah, we're having those conversations, and we've been really fortunate that the legislature has stepped up time and time again to support the food bank network, and we're really grateful for that. And we're just about to go into a FY24 budget conversation, so we'll continue to having conversations. I know I have Senator DiDomenico's phone number.
All right. Yeah, I mean, when we look at the number of people who receive SNAP benefits, as we said, it was about 640,000 households, or 1 million residents of Massachusetts are getting food through SNAP benefits. By my rough math, that's roughly 1 in 7 people in Massachusetts. I think you touched on this a moment ago, but I think it raises larger questions about food insecurity in the state, and beyond just the benefits, why this many people need assistance getting fed. Catherine, can you just sort of address that briefly?
Yeah, we live in a very expensive region in the state and in the country. I think that's a big, and these are complex issues. There's not one silver bullet, I think, that's going to solve this. I think that I'm really pleased to see that there's recognition of the intersectionality of some of these issues between housing and transportation and hunger and medical costs and childcare and college affordability. All of these things are contributing factors to why an individual or a family is not being able to afford food right now. So I think we need to continue to think about that and think in that way, so that we can long term really address the root causes of hunger, because it is an economic and it's a political condition.
Right. State Senator, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, and also, if you can believe in our state, which is considered a wealthy state and a wealthy country, we have many people living below the deep poverty level, which is 50% below poverty level. Which you can't even imagine that's the case in our state. So we have been able to tackle food insecurity in a 3 or 4 prong approach here, with providing more cash assistance to our families, to increasing SNAP benefits eligibility, and trying to find people who are eligible for Mass Help that are also eligible for SNAP benefits, so they don't have to go to 2 different places to apply for the benefits. And universal school meals, which is really getting a lot of traction across the country and within our state in particular. When the federal program was stopped for that too, the state picked up the difference, and to the tune of $130 million. And now the governor put in her SUP another $65 million to cover the difference, which shows that kids are eating in our schools more than ever. When people that want to go back to the old way of filling out forms and trying to find a way to do a means test on food, that's when we get in trouble. Yeah. Because you can't put a means test on food when 25% of the students that don't qualify for free and reduced lunch are food insecure within themselves and their own families. And in addition to that, the stigma attached to filling out forms. People don't want to sign documents. So it really is an issue that we can't solve with one approach. We have to, do a multi-approach, and tackle this, as was said, a holistic approach. And we're working on that in the Senate and legislature as well. Okay. Well, State Senator Sal DiDomenico and Catherine Lynn of the Greater Boston Food Bank, thank you both so much for joining us tonight.